Hi, my name is Beth Hiley here for Board Game Geek at Essen 2016. I'm sitting down with Ted Alsbach of Bézier Games, and you've brought us Colony.
I have. We're very excited. We're launching it here at SPIEL.
Ta-da!
Oh, I could not be more excited.
You know, the apocalypse deserves the fanfare.
I know, I love the apocalypse. Most people do. But this is post-apocalypse. This is after the apocalypse. So it's kind of that little glow you get after the apocalypse, typically. So in Colony, really exciting. You are actually rebuilding. So it's a building game. It's an engine building game where you're rebuilding civilization through basically a colony of all these great buildings. And you're competing with the other players at the table to build the best possible colony. Colonies consist of these cards, which represent buildings and other technological, it's hard to say in the morning, advancements. And each player has these abilities that they can use throughout their turn. A typical turn, I'm going to actually let you do a turn here, and I'll kind of walk you through it.
You told us we're sort of set up about
We are set up
midway.
like I'm in the middle of a game, and you're crushing me right now,
Awesome.
but maybe things will turn around. We'll see. To start, whoever's turn it is going to roll 3 dice. Now, as soon as you roll them, they turn into resources magically. We now have 3 of these resources right there, 2 6s and a 4. Because you rolled, you get to keep one of them and then draft the other ones around the table. So go ahead, choose one.
I will say I will pick a 6.
Fantastic. I will go ahead and choose a 4. Now, if there was a third player, they would get the 6. There's not, so you're going to get that 6 as well.
Excellent.
It's your turn now, and now you're able to activate any of these cards and do all sorts of the cool things that you can do with them. First thing you want to do is grab all of these resources off of your warehouse. You have a whole bunch that are there. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to look over here and say, I'm producing some other things. I'm producing a 6 and a 3, so we're going to give you a 6 and a 3. You'll notice that these are gray instead of white.
Yes.
That's because these are unstable resources. The unstable resources cannot be saved in your warehouse between turns. They will slowly dissipate and disappear, and then you will not have them next turn. So you must use them this turn if you want to use them. But at this point, you have all of these resources available to you in the game. You can do pretty much anything you want to at this point with them that the cards allow you to do. So for instance, you can pay to upgrade one of your other cards. Some of these are already upgraded. You can build some cards from the supply. You can turn resources into other resources using these exchange type cards. We've already produced things. And finally, in the end here, you're a very aggressive player, and you've actually decided to go for points early on in the game. And so you actually have some kind of what we'd call end game scoring type cards, so the big buildings in Puerto Rico style of cards. And so you already have those, which reflected by our score right now, you have 9 points and I have 5 because you decided to go with that. I'm more conservative, going more of the traditional engine building route. You decided to go all out to see if you could just crush me. And of course, whoever has the most points is going to win. With 2 players, we're playing to 20 points.
Now, we did want to highlight, too,
of course,
that there is a fabulous insert
that
comes with this.
Yeah, and that's it comes with a ton of cards. So we're only playing with 7 of the possible 28 different cards you can play with in the game. So any game you play, you pick which ones you want to use. Right now I have kind of a standard starting set out for us.
So noted.
Yes, everything is just, these are the starting cards you use. But when you play in the future, you can use any combination of cards at all. We have 1 of each different type, but you can play with, for instance, we have attack cards here. Some people don't like attacking. It's just not their thing. So you can just ignore those entirely and go with more production and exchange and those sorts of cards.
And it's worth noting that even though we have a 2-player setup here, this does go up to 4.
Yes.
That we would just keep putting out a little more groups around the table here.
Exactly. What's really cool, I'm so happy with this insert. Now, you're only seeing regular cards here, but if you sleeve the cards, they'll actually fit in this insert. So very excited about that. And for any gamers who sleeve their cards, woo, that's awesome. And underneath here, this actually snaps out. This is where you actually store your dice and your other stuff, and it snaps in place. So if you turn the box upside down, don't do it now because the cards will fall out. But the other stuff will not fall out when the box is closed, which is great. So yeah, anyway, that's all the stuff you get in the game overall.
Now, how long do you think a typical post-apocalyptic game would take you?
Typically with 2 people, your first game is probably going to take 45 minutes. After that's about a half hour. It's about 15 minutes per player after the first game. This first game, of course, you're kind of learning things and figuring things out. But it's typically an hour for 3 or 4 players, and we'll into that.
So would you describe this as sort of a dice management with a little drafting on the side?
It's actually resource management. There's the dice drafting that I just showed you, kind of what we do. That's really the bulk of your dice rolling that takes place, is the beginning of your turn there, and then you're drafting those dice. So, what you get is somewhat determined by the roll of the dice, but there's a lot of mitigation involved.
Right, because in the powers that
Right,
you can have
you're
to flex
you're
things.
buying cards that produce certain types of dice. So you choose which cards you want to buy that are going to produce those dice every turn. You've got these exchange cards that let you trade in things for other things. And so you're controlling exactly what you have. The dice are kind of steering you possibly in one direction or another, and nudging you maybe would be a better word to use.
Well, if you guys want to check that out, that is Bézier's newest title here, which is Colony. And Ted, thank you so much for giving us a little sneak peek.
You're welcome.